Alrighty, Josh Rubin from East West Healing and Performance. Today, I guess you could say this is a video. I haven't done one in about a week, and I want to get one up. And I'm starting to think about my YouTube channel, and I want to really keep it to education instead of really giving you the answers, because I can't diagnose, and B, I really can't give you the answers over the computer or however you're watching this, because everything is individualized. And if you do have a symptom or a disease, everyone has their specific issue for an individualized reason, right? So I'm going to keep it to education. That's what my business is all about, helping people to help themselves. And I feel like a lot of people, even practitioners, we're all about fixing dysfunction. Well, you have to understand function to fix dysfunction, right? It's not about using awesome mobilization techniques and awesome stretches and awesome supplements. You have to understand what's going on to individualize it. So I did a video, I guess this is a series on basically stomach dysfunction. I did one on hypochlorhydria, right? That's a stomach dysfunction, which is low HCl in the stomach, and you can go back to my YouTube clip on that. Other issues of the stomach are obviously H.Pylori infections. I did one on that, and you can search my YouTube as well as my blog for some videos on H.Pylori, which is a bacterial infection which affects the stomach. There's two other issues that chronically affect the stomach. The first is gastric inflammation and pancreatic insufficiencies. So those are the four things that can cause stomach dysfunction, which lead to, typically, issues later on down the GI tract, like the small intestine, liver, and large intestine. Typically, if you see a dysfunction lower in the GI tract, it's coming from upper, meaning like the stomach and small intestine, things like that. So, and we'll go on to small intestine dysfunction and large intestine dysfunction and all the different things that coincide with that. But we did hypochlorhydria, we did H. pylori. Today we're going to talk about gastritis. It's actually really simple. What is gastritis? It ends in itis, which means inflammation of the gastric system, inflammation of the stomach. And it's been shown that basically, I think it's like every 8 out of 1,000 people have gastritis. Now, what are the signs and symptoms of gastritis? Well, let's look at that first off. Basically, it's frequent loose stools. That's a common sign of gastritis. A lot of the times, if the mucosa or things are wrong in your stomach and you eat food, the food wants to get rid of that because it's very irritating and creates more inflammation. So the body tries to get rid of it with diarrhea as frequent as possible. A weak appetite, right? Epigastric pain, which is pain up in this area per se. Now, this isn't always gastritis. I'm just giving you some of the common signs and symptoms. Unexplained nausea. Unexplained vomiting, obviously in more serious sense, but that can be other things as well. Having a high, moderate, or slight fever. And a lot of times these things just come on. They just come on, occasionally, or you're like, every month I get this, or twice a month I get this. I can't figure out why. And it's not always parasites. Everyone thinks, well, parasite. You have a GI problem. It's a parasite. I'm seeing this more with practitioners. Yes, it could be, but a lot of times, why do they have the gastritis? It could just be because the mucosal lining is gone. They have, low hydrochloric acid from poor diet, a deficiency, and all the things I talk about in my hypochlorhydric video. Now, what are some of the things that cause gastritis? Well, it could be, obviously, decreased HCl. It could be, any of the things that go with that, like thiamine or zinc deficiency, age, stressors, pathogens, H. pylori, on and on. It could be overindulgence in alcohol. It could be taking over-the-counter drugs or, prescription drugs for that matter. Many stressors. The bottom line is anything you're doing in your life can cause gastritis, which is an inflammation of the mucosal lining. Well, there's a problem with that because if you do have gastritis, then you can't digest, assimilate, and transport the nutrients to your cells, so you can't break it down. So a lot of times these people end up very skinny, they're weak, they're fatigued, they have chronic fatigue. This leads to dysbiosis. It leads to malabsorption issues. It leads to, what else does it lead to? Pancreatic insufficiencies. It leads to leaky gut syndrome. It leads to altered pH and altered pro and prebiotics in the small intestine and large intestine, and on and on and on. So it leads to so many different problems. Now, it's a problem because I'm seeing more and more people with gastritis, and most people are diagnosing them with these big diseases. Like most common long-term side effect of having just gastritis is basically like ulcerative colitis and things like that. inflammatory bowel diseases and things like that, inflammatory bowel syndrome, IBS, any type of inflammation is down, further down the GI tract is usually from having gastritis, never taking care of it, never seeing why, and kind of just going with the flow, and then on and on and on, it builds and builds and builds, and you start seeing IBS and all these disorders, lower in the digestive tract. It can also lead to bleeding in the stomach. So you commonly see blood in the stools and things like that. It can lead to an iron deficiency, anemia, as well as a B12 deficiency. So there's severe differences between, anemias that we have going on. So it's key to find out what type of anemia that you have. Is it more of a B12 or is it an iron deficiency? And a lot of people say, well, I'm just going to take B12 because I have this deficiency. Well, you can take all the B12 you want. That's actually a side effect from your gastritis. So you got to heal the gut. So what do you do if you have gastritis? What do you do because you're not absorbing your foods and you have hyperpermeability and you get leaky gut and you're overloading your immune system, your lymphatic system, your hormonal system? This leads to so many systemic problems. Well, what do you do? Well, it really depends on why you have gastritis. As I said, is it because the foods you're eating, the lifestyle you're living, medications you're taking? Is it because you're taking 45 different supplements every day? Is it because you do have a pathogen or H.Pylori or a parasite? Is it because you have food intolerances? Is it because you have decreased HCl? Is it because you have a pancreatic insufficiency? So you can see it has to be individualized for the person. So I guess my point of this YouTube clip is to add on to upper GI disorders videos. I did Hypochlorhydria and the H.Pylori. My next one will be on pancreatic insufficiencies. These are the 4 things that are common in the stomach. But to educate you, so maybe you can align your symptoms with this and figure out what's going on. But I can tell you this, if you have gastritis, 99% of the time you have, HCl problem, because the HCl deficiency usually leads to gastritis. Usually have deficiencies. Watch my YouTube on hypochlorhydria and you'll understand how this can lead to gastritis. A lot of the times, I would say 75% of the time, you do have an H. pylori infection. It's diet related, it's nutrition related, on and on. And you're probably saying, well, what do I do? What do I do? I want answers. Well, I can't give you a cookie cutter approach. The bottom line is you need to figure out, do a GI lab. Give us a call. We can do a GI lab with you, do an intake, have a consult with you, figure out what's going on, and set up a plan. It's really quick and simple. But it has to be individualized. You can't just take supplements if you don't know what's going on inside. So I guess my point of this is to educate you, add just to the, what is gastritis type of thing, as well as give you some insight so you can understand that it's not just treating the gastritis, it's figuring out why you have the gastritis and the inflammation and on and on and on. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Give us a call if you want to set up a consultation. Visit our website. Tune in every Thursday at 2 p.m. at our Blog Talk radio show. We got a lot of good stuff going on, so tune in. It's just a quick YouTube clip, I guess quicker than usual, but it's still a little long. So hopefully you enjoyed it, and I'll check you later.